service practices, we are both validating everyone's role in the community. We're already assuming that folks are coming with strengths to that community, and our jobs are then to kind of unpack those strengths, right? Those assets, and really bring them to the table. Some folks in a lot of worlds talk about the Michelangelo effect, right? Anybody know that quote? Michelangelo said, somebody asked Michelangelo, how does he make these structures so beautiful? And he said, I don't do anything. I just uncover the beauty that's already inside of the rock, right? That is the philosophy that we have to, our young people come with these assets. It is our opportunity to exploit them, to bring them up. But we only do that, again, in structured, informal, and informal way. What we already know, and that's why it's kind of counterintuitive, that's the last bullet, is that safety is the most critical aspect of any psychological engagement, right? So Maslow always talked about safety, supportive relationships, engagement. And that engagement is in whatever is happening. And, again, this idea of positive relationships. The Search Institute, who was one of the first research bases that really pushed out that young people had assets, they came out with the 40 developmental assets a long time ago, has switched their work to understand that the foundation of any transfer of knowledge is connection and relationship. So I always talk about this as, at home we all have some type of partner, significant other. They might be talking real to you, logic, but you don't want to hear it from them. And then you go to your best friend and they say the exact same thing that your partner said, and it becomes validated. Because there's power structures in all of this. And as adults, as people in power, we have to hold ourselves honest and all of our team honest with that. Next slide, please. So, key principles. Improve school access, community, this idea of climate, culture and climate. One of the interesting parts that I lead in the policy level is that through the Every Student Succeeds Act, and specifically here in Illinois, because we have social and emotional learning standards, this work is not only specific to support staff, to well-intentioned youth workers, out-of-school time practitioners. This is meaning that everyone has a role in school climate. We are unpacking this in research. We're seeing some really great examples coming out of Oakland, where they are training all adults in the room. We're talking about bus drivers, cafeteria workers, obviously teachers and practitioners, to make sure that they're setting the right vibe for young people. Because at the end of the day, philosophy, mission, it's all about energy and vibe. And if young people don't feel vested in their climate, one, they vote with their feet, which is a problem when it's school, because they're legally mandated to be there, so that creates different issues. And at the end of the day, it just already talks about potentially the dip in attention, the dip in scores. Promote social emotional skill development. One of the great things that's happening across research is that we're not teasing this out anymore. For a long time, people were just like, oh, that's the social emotional part, that's the enrichment world. And we're here to do core academic constructs, get kids ready for AP tests. We're finding that all of them, that it is emerging now. So it is actually social, emotional, and academic development, as we're talking about it more. And really then complicating the onus of the practitioner to say, wow, I have to not only do math really well, but I also have to understand grouping strategies, identify one-on-one strategies with young people, thus differentiate to make sure that everyone has an equitable place in my classroom. Takes a lot of work. Again, increasing safety, and that is broader than, do we have fire extinguishers, right? Or the doors are locked. This is about both physical and psychological safety. And at the end of the day, we're even complicating it more, because for a little while people were talking about bullying. Well, now we're also talking about exclusion and all of these other aspects of psychology. Disciplinary issues, that's a common metric. Again, proximal skills will get us proximal outcomes. It also just divides us puts us in a position to really outline what are the outcomes that we're shooting for. So we already know that suspensions there's a moratorium of suspensions, so we have to take it a bit deeper to understand both, think about what is discipline and how it's happening, where is it happening, and then obviously at the end of the day, once we provide safety, if we provide these intentional supportive relationships, then our young people's psychology is ready and engaged and ready for learning. So why are we using this? Well, again, the research is catching up with us, but one of the best things that I say for us as practitioners is that a long time, because I do a lot of this at a lot of conferences, everyone wants to hear the expert in the room, the person up here telling them what to do. The best thing about this work is that it's emerging, and all of us are in a way doing action research. We're all applying these strategies, and we're all informing the research as it's developing. So it's really exciting, both for someone who researches this work but more than anything because we're at a great place. We're at the jump off of this work. And we can really make sure that we fortify these models and these strategies, not only for the education field in general, because we're all educators in this world, but specifically for our schools. Because every school is different, and thus all these practices and strategies are going to look different in the school. And that's okay, which always complicates people because they're always just like, can't you just tell me what I'm supposed to do? Who does this? Everybody. Which is why we go back to this idea that it takes everyone, right? It takes a village. You've all heard that. It's written in books, it's titled in books. But in this work, it is not only critical, it is integral to the process, right? And what you really see in the Restorative Practice Handbook is it's a little cut off here. They actually give really practical implications to not only when and how, not only how, but specifically the when, and how to be developmentally appropriate about these things. But I think you brought it up perfectly when I was kind of listening to your table. Again, it has to be a little different for a third grader than a high school student. And it's on us to differentiate that, right? Specifically as brain development, which is another field of this research, is talking about that good risk. There's such thing as good risk. Young people in their development are, as their brain is fortifying themselves now into their 20s, we're talking about that those prefrontal cortex, those managerial pieces are happening much later than we understood. So a lot of this work is both in terminology, competencies, but making sure that it's right for them, which is where we talk about social emotional learning and then different skills and competencies.